Welcome into 5 Reasons to Bet, our Thursday night football regular edition here. We've got Jim Rodriguez. We've got Taylor Mathis. We don't have Alfredo Arteaga, but we will give you his picks in spirit. You can take a look at how we've done here through the first 4 weeks of the Thursday night season. I'm 4-4. Jim is 5-3. Alfredo is 3-5. Taylor, we're not going to talk about what you are.
She's the chart for the group.
I'm in the wild card hunt. That's the best I can do after Taylor's hot start. So
I'm stuck in mediocrity here. So we'll see how this thing goes. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at 5 Reasons Sports. I always forget Taylor's handle, and you can follow Jim at JRod Show. All right, we've got a good one actually this Thursday night, or better on paper than some of the ones recently have looked. NFC West tends to produce interesting games. So we are sponsored first before we go any forward. We are sponsored by BetUS. That's right, betus.com. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E. It's right down there. The code is 5. Use that code to get yourself 125% bonus. Don't have a ton of rollovers. They got a great live betting platform. This is where you want to play. You don't want to play like I've played some lately, but that's where you want to play. Go to betus.com. And, of course, NBA starting up. They got those futures on there, not just records and all that stuff, but 6th Man of the Year, MVP, and all that. You can bet all of that at BetUS. All right, let's get right to it here. Again, Rams and Seahawks. We're going to do what we always do, which is kind of start with the over-under. It's a high one. We've seen some in the low 40s lately for some of these games. This one is 54.5, which feels like an NFC West special here. I will start with you, Jim, today. And by the way, on the record here, Alfredo is going over. Okay, so he's going over, but he's 3-5. You don't have to listen to him. Jim, go. What do you think here of the over-under?
It is now the spooky time of the year next year. I'm going to go over. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Listen, the Seahawks have yet to hit 50 points in their 2-2 start. Rams have always hit 50 points, but here's the difference. We saw what Kyler Murray did to the Rams, and Russell Wilson is basically Kyler Murray, if not better. We're going to see some points. We're going to see a lot of offense. The Rams' defense is nothing to be desired. We're going to see a lot of offense, and I think the pass rush of the Rams has not been what we've expected. Donald company. So even though the Seahawks take a beating, Russell Wilson's already been sacked a boatload of times. Got sacked 3 more times last week against the 49ers. It seems to not affect them. I think we're going to see an old school shootout. I think we're going to see points. We may hit that 54 halfway through the third quarter, so I'm going over.
Taylor?
I'm disagreeing with Jim. I'm going to take the under, and I feel like you should listen to me with my record. I'm going to take the under because regardless of the fact that the Rams gave up 216 yards rushing to the Cardinals last week, I think they cleaned things up against Wilson and the Seahawks. I like them improving their defense. I think they're still a top 10 defense regardless of how they played last week. I'm going to take the under. I think this one's going to be super close. I think it's going to be a score of like 27-24. I just think 54.5 is too high.
My God, that was the score I'm picking, which is exactly why I'm going under. And the fact that Taylor picked it forced me to break my tie here because I wasn't really convinced. I'm going to go under. It's a counterintuitive pick because I do think we're going to get a good game on Thursday night, and those tend to be a little bit more high scoring. But I think 27-24 around that area is kind of what we're looking at here. I also think there will be an element of the Rams to try to keep Wilson off the field some. I could see them ball control a little bit more than they typically do. So I'm going to go under. I don't think it's going to be under by a lot. I think we're going to sweat this one out, but I'm going to go under. Speaking of sweating, I'm waiting for my booze bandages to arrive. And so last night at 6 a.m., I woke up sweating and diving for Advil, which, by the way, if you don't have Advil next to your bed, you're making a mistake. But you're making a bigger mistake if you don't get one of these, because then if you get one of these, you probably won't need the Advil. Here's a word from Booze Bandage.
Jackson.
Excuse me. Sorry. It's because I didn't have mine yesterday. I'm still waiting for them to come in the mail. Make sure you order them so they get there quickly. BoostBandage.com. Use the code 5RSN for 20% off. All right, so Rams on the road, a favorite in Seattle. We don't see a lot of teams that are favorites in Seattle. I mean, it's rare. I mean, we know about, obviously, the 12th man and everything else that happens there. I will tell you that Alfredo is taking the Rams, and he's giving the points on the road. But, again, he's 3-5. Taylor, you're 7-1. Who do you like?
I'm agreeing with Alfredo. I'm going to take the Rams -2.5. I think this is the most exciting Thursday night football matchup we've had in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Like NFC West, this one's definitely going to be a tight game. I just don't see Stafford losing 2 in a row. And whoever loses this one, I feel like, they're going to drop further behind the Cardinals. So I'm going to go with the Rams, regardless of the fact that they're the favorite on the road. Also, I feel like you don't bet against the favorites right now in Thursday night football. They're 4-0 so far this season.
Jim?
First of all, I'm going to Vegas, so I've got all the essentials. And cat, so little Fury Wilder. So we'll get into that later in the week here on 5 Reasons to Bet. Listen, I got to go with the Rams -2.5. Why? They're just a better team. And here's what the numbers tell you. Sean McVay, after a loss, 13-6-1 against the spread. That's 68%, and 8-2 on the road. They're just the better team. I think they're going to win the game. I think it's going to be a shootout, but I think they're just the better team. They're not going to lose 2 in a row. This team, the Rams, are a Super Bowl contender. The Rams are going to the Super Bowl, if not losing the NFC Championship game, and they win in Seattle. This is not the same Seattle team. This is not the same home field advantage. They're on the downside. I think the Rams go in there and clean up nicely. Whose house? It's going to be Rams' house in the Pacific Northwest.
Well, look, I mean, if I'm smart, I would go against all you guys because I can't make up any ground picking the Rams here. But I'm going to pick the Rams here. I'm with you, Jim. I think that sometimes with certain teams, particularly if a coach is there for a long period of time or a quarterback is there for a long period of time, like in this case in Seattle, we kind of assume that if you're not following closely that the rest of the personnel matches up to what it used to be. And it really doesn't there right now. With the exception of Metcalf and a couple others, they just haven't added as much talent over the past few years. Whereas the Rams seem like now that they have a quarterback who can actually improvise, which they didn't have the past couple of years, that they're a more serious threat. So I do think the Rams win. I think it's going to be a competitive game, but I think it's going to be one of those games where we talk about kind of a changing of the guard in this division. And I think ultimately the Rams are going to outlast the Cardinals and the 49ers to win the division. So I'm going to go with the Rams as well, but I'm going to go under. All right, so join us next week, boostbandage.com. Use code 5RSN. Get yourself those bandages for 20% off. You can join Jim out in Vegas. I'm going to do that one of these days. And betus.com, betus.com. Use the code word 5. Have a good week.
Boom.